In certain parts of the world, things are opening up. It's now your chance to get clear on how you want your lives to be. Plus, the music industry is really getting fed up with Spotify. Stick around, we have a lot to discuss. Hello and welcome to Music Industry City's Monday Kickoff, where we offer important tips for a successful career and get you motivated for the week ahead. I'm Peter Schwing, and joining me, as always, my fellow co-hosts Aisha Damo and the Duke. If there's something you'd like to chime out, join us in the chat or leave a comments below. You know how to do it, but let's kick this off. We're going to get right into this with Aisha and the Duke. What's going on? How you doing?
Hey.
Good to see ya. How was your weekend?
Very good, very good. Enjoying this lovely weather.
Oh yeah. Is anybody else like wiped out today? Like it's been a Monday. It's
Yeah,
been one of these like I can't get started today.
I've been having a bit of that myself. Just, I did a lot of working out over the weekend, some dancing, and so I'm a little worn out from that. And also, I got to watch the Preakness Stakes. Love the horse racing, and that was quite an interesting race. This horse Rombauer came out of nowhere and just stole the race, which was really cool. But yeah,
You know what? Something else was really interesting because I was watching that, and it's kind of interesting that, and maybe it also relates to just the world getting opening back up. Is that the horses were very anxious about getting
Mm.
into the gates. And there were people that they would have like they have the people and they were like pushing them like more so than usual, and you could see the horses were anxious. It was because it was the first time that they've raced or like even trained in front of thousands of spectators. So the horses were
yeah,
anxious due to all the spectators. So it's kind of interesting how that's going to affect shows, things like that. Artists getting back and musicians saying it's like, we haven't rehearsed, we're getting back. It's going to have a little, anxious about going on stage for the first time. And production teams that normally can do this in their sleep, like rinse, repeat on tour, like break it down, set it up, break it down, set it up.
totally. That feeling of like, wait, how do I do this again? I've done this a million times, but wait, what is this? The muscle memory, will it kick in? When will it kick in?
Or like riding a bike. Dave, how about you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great, man. Every day is a blessed day. I was watching some Mr. Rogers, and I feel like he really rubbed off on me in life. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm just happy to be alive doing it.
I love that. That's great. Yes. We have a lot to talk about. I know, Dave, we're going to be talking about Spotify.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Spotify and the trickle down energies and how people are upset about the finances of it.
Right on. Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion. There's a lot of organizations. There's a lot of people. There's been protests in front of the Spotify offices about 2 months ago or so. And we're going to see. We're going to talk more about that. So let's. I'm going to get back to you in just a second, but let's kick over to Aisha because I know Aisha. This is you talking about. We're getting back to things. People are going out in certain parts of the world. It's opening up, and a lot of people looked at something as almost like rebranding during this time period. And I was speaking in our morning room in a clubhouse, and we are talking about like rebranding might not be a really good choice of words. It's kind of like expanding your brand in essence. So it's like defining
Yeah,
on how you want your life to be.
yeah. I mean, we're at this moment here where we have this kind of chance to rebirth ourselves, our society at large, and that begins with, the individual. So I think it's a really exciting time, and we have an opportunity here to really think about how we want our lives to be, you know?
Hmm. Interesting. Well, I know you got a lot to talk about, so why don't you take it away?
Yeah. So, I mean, for today, this is the thing. I just want to talk about this crossroads that we're at as we move back towards normality. I don't know about you guys, but for me, this was the first weekend where I really went out and took my mask off because the CDC said you could if you were vaccinated, and it was a whole other world, and the things are really, there's a new vibe in the air, and you can smell it and you can feel it. And we're seeing a lot of people, I think, that because of the forced pause created by the pandemic, they're not willing to go back to some of the jobs they used to do. That's been in the news quite a bit. And I think a lot of people had time to get out of the hypnosis of their usually day to day work cycle. They got outside of the usual and they said, hey, wait a minute. This isn't right. This isn't me. I need to make a change. And a lot of people, I think, are starting to do that. And from there, I think some people started to ask the question, what is my life really about? Who am I really? And these are great questions to be asking right about now or anytime, but like especially now. As we move towards this post pandemic world, let's remember that this is a world that we have an opportunity to create. We are creators and we can create it. It's magic, it's action, it's a force of the will. And that all begins with our own lives. What kind of life do you want to create for yourself? Now is a time to really go deep with that question. Who do you want to be in the world, and what does, your day-to-day existence look like? Is there something from your past, an interest, a hobby, a tradition, a pastime that you want to weave more consistency into the fabric of your life? These are definitely the questions of the moment, because in this moment, we're at the threshold. A lot is still up in the air, and we can decide how we want those pieces to land in our lives. It's a lot of power, actually, if we just take a moment and really take that power. We've had a really big shakeup in our old habits. And if we can make a conscious decision about the new habits we create to replace them, we have an opportunity to define our whole new life for ourselves. So, for my artists and creatives, sure, there are many of us who have already chosen the road less traveled by, and that's not new for us. But we also have a moment here to reassess the message in our work, the relationships we have, how we want to put ourselves out there, how much is a good balance for our lives, a work, self-care balance. If we, and, how we want to have a side hustle, if we do it all, or if we can find a way around that, or if we want to branch out into something entirely new that we've never done before. All of those opportunities are open. And we can let our creativity go where it wants to go, especially in a time like this. And there's a lot of other people in the world are more accommodating to that at this time. So I really think we should take advantage of it. So here we're at the start of summer, and as we move into this, new world with our vaccinated selves, I encourage you to take some thoughtful time to figure these things out. Write them down. Actually write them down with your hand, with a pen, with paper. I know it's old school, but it gets it into your body. And that's the kind of magic that really cements things so that it's in you, so that you can then go out and make it happen. Make an action plan about it and at least include a small amount of this new vibe, this new life, this new person that you want to birth in yourself in every day. Have a little bit of that practice in your life every single day. So, this is your moment to be who you want to be. Just close your eyes and see it. Feel it, feel into that person, because that person is already in there inside of you. So I hope you bring them out to play. And that is my wish for you this week and for the next coming months.
Right on. That's great. You touch upon a point that I always stress to people is writing things down instead of just typing it into another list, a to-do list, or just opening up a blank Google Doc or put it into a spreadsheet and you type it and it just goes away. It just becomes something that is another digital file of something else that you were doing. It's like sending it. I like text messaging myself. That's a different thing, like little notes about here a reminder or something. But like when it comes to like that to-do list, it gets lost. When you write it down, it actually helps with the memory in a sense. And there's some kind of studies about that.
Well, I think, because you're bringing this additional sense into it,
Mm-hmm.
where, when you write things by hand or even when you draw a picture about it, you're bringing in the physical body in a way that's more intense than when you just type it. And then you can touch that piece of paper in a way you're not going to touch a file on your screen. So bringing the tactile senses into it, not just the visual senses, and then putting that in a place where you see it often, where you can touch it often, where it can be really integrated into your life. That bringing more of the senses into it and more of the frequency into it is going to increase your power to bring that, what I would call magic, into your life. So definitely, it's a thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like they say, one of the most the most powerful senses is the sense of smell. Like you can, it's one of those that goes back like from when a child, like when you were a child, like it's one of the most powerful senses. It's like, well, if you have this like thing that you want to do, then like spray it with some kind of lavender
Yes.
flavor, and then every time you smell it, now you're adding extra senses to it.
Actually, like that is totally a thing. And I mean, okay, so coming from someone, who does magical ritual, me, um, the whole idea of adding an incense, adding oils into a ritual, and having those relate to your goal in the ritual is to increase the involvement of those different senses. So, I mean, even when you take communion, right? That's taste, right? You're adding that sense of taste into this commitment, this spiritual commitment. So when you add the senses into it, it's an even more powerful thing.
It it's really interesting, and I know I want to tie this in because I know Dave. We're going to be talking about Spotify, and
How do we
it's
go
some
from communion to
no,
Spotify?
exactly. It's like this is what's great. It's like because they were talking about like deprivation. Like the article that we were referencing is talking about deprivation due to the pandemic induced crash. And like musicians have had to like come to embrace different areas of their career to figure out like, hey, I don't have live, or should I release an album? Do I do something as a live streamer now? And it's about, the pieces of the pie. And then you have these people that are looking at, where do they want their lives to be? Because we realize, oh, well, live's gone right now. It's coming back, but I couldn't rely on streaming as for like Spotify. But now there's something else. And I went and became, I want my life to be more about being a Twitch streamer or doing something on a different platform. So we're going to tie this all back in just a second. Is that good with you?
Yeah.
Right on. All right, thanks, Aisha. And with that being said, let's welcome the Duke. Dave, what's the good word?
Yo, I feel you on that Twitch streaming situation. That's how I became like a TikTok YouTuber because I never used it before ever. And I totally feel you on that vibe.
And that's what, so when we go back to Aisha, she's going to be like, Dave, where do you want to be when you grow up now that post-pandemic?
Can she make that face when she asked that question? Can she turn it the same way?
If anybody can see, we can see the feed behind the screen. Aisha is cracking up. Hold on a second. Here's Aisha laughing right now. All right, Dave. Let's talk about this. I'm going to let you ride on the Spotify thing. All right, take it away.
Spotify. So people are angry at Spotify because the money is not going to the artists the way that people feel that it should. And do people have the right to feel angry? Of course they do. Does Spotify have the right to not pay artists? They do also. And if you don't like it, then don't put your music on Spotify. I think that was the same thing with a lot of things. If you don't like it, just don't put it there. The thing that's hard for artists is that Spotify is the main hub. So they really kind of got like a monopoly on the energy. Not really, but they kind of do, because it's like, how do you not put your music on Spotify? If you don't like YouTube, how do you not put your music videos on YouTube? You're going to live on Vimeo. So there's always going to be this alternative, but you're always going to be at like a tier lower. So what people are doing, they're outside Spotify, they're picketing, they're amped about it, and it's good. That's how you cause change. Change always comes from the individual, which then becomes the group, right? Because you say, well, I don't like this, and then somebody else says, no, I feel you, I don't like it either. Now you have two, then you become four, then you become eight, and then eventually the whole industry kind of turns around and goes like, you know what? Fuck this. This is some bullshit. But I think the thing that's the broader picture, right? Because this is just Spotify not paying the artists what the artists feel that they're worth. Spotify feels that they're perfectly fine with it. They're like, this is what it is. We're in a boardroom, we're a corporation, and we're like, yeah, that's what your value is. That's what they feel your value is. But the thing about the music industry, I'm not talking about music. I'm not talking about the individuals. I'm talking about the music industry. The music industry has always devalued the artist less than what the artist feels that their value is. Doesn't matter what it is. Whether it's the show that you're playing, the music venue's trying to rip you off, your manager's trying to rip you off, your label's trying to rip you off, your in your apartment, they're trying to rip you off. They're trying to raise your rent all the time. You know what I mean? And you're like, man, but the bathroom doesn't work. They don't care about that. They'll have you pooping in a bucket and you're still gonna pay rent on that bucket. It doesn't matter. Like, so it's interesting, but when you look around the music industry, and this is something you got to kind of step back, it's almost like being a basketball player or a professional wrestler, right? The Undertaker was really kind of like the only dude to be wrestling in his 50s with any like, oh yeah, the Undertaker still makes sense. The music industry just kind of washes you away after a certain point. Like, you come in, you have these high hopes, and then eventually, like, it just kind of eats you. It just bites you, eats you, and then it just kind of spits you out because it doesn't value you because it knows there's another one coming right around the left. And it's the same thing with the Spotify. It's like, all right, you don't want to put your music on Spotify. We'll find another you. There's like a million other yous, and they'll just keep doing that. And it's the same thing all across the music industry. You'll never be valued. You have to value yourself more than they value you. And then that kind of ties into what we were talking about before about being a Twitch streamer or TikTok or whatever it is. Find out where you have the most value and where you can make the most money being yourself. That's the thing about it. You got to love music and do music because you love it, not because you're going to get paid, because you won't. And that's just reality. I'm not even trying to be that guy to be like, oh yeah, go ask your friends. Look around and see what they do to pay that fucking shit bucket rent. You know what I mean? They're not making it for music. It's just not. And you age out so fast. If you're lucky and you have a hit song, maybe you can still have a career in 20, 30 years. But even when you look at that, they're not playing stadiums. It's so fucking rare that you will ever, ever, ever find anybody playing stadiums. You'd be happy if after 20, 30 years you have a career and you're playing a theater. That's like, you really were successful because you're playing a theater and you've been in the game for 20, 30 years. Most people, they're accountants or they're doing other things because there's so many other ways to make money than music. Music is not a good way to make money. Spotify does not care, and they're going right along with the energy of everything else. So Spotify is just it's just a smaller picture of the big picture. The whole music industry doesn't give a fuck about you, let alone Spotify. They couldn't give a shit about you. So you really got to bring your value up, and it means you got to pick at your manager and your fucking venue and like iTunes and Spotify, and then you got to do that, because if you don't bring up your value, nobody else is coming to your door going like, I believe in you. I want to get you paid more. Nobody is ever going to do that. They won't. They might say that to your face, have you signed a contract, but after you sign that contract and you got your wonderful sunset clause, you're out of there, man. They're going to get a new you, and it just is what it is. It's almost like being in the porn industry. You know what I mean? It's like you look really good, but once your boobs start hanging, there's another you, man. And it's just inevitability. It just is what it is. So you got to bring your value up so that when your boobs start sagging, you got people around the corner, OnlyFans, going like, I love saggy boobs. That's my favorite. And if you have 1,000 people that love saggy boobs, great. Fuck Spotify. Who gives a shit about that? Go find your money on OnlyFans or TikTok or fucking saggyboobs.com. Whatever it is, like find where your value is and keep your value up. That's how I feel about Spotify, and that's how I feel about anything that devalues you. You got to bring your value up, and whatever that takes, that's what you got to do. End scene. Done.
Cut. Mic drop. Find out where you have the most value. That's it. Right there. Go there. And, there's so many things. And I want to go back just to this article there, and we put that in the show notes, because you were talking about, like, the movement. It's like it takes one person to say this, and then it's like two people. It's like, oh, we're on this. And I wanted to just bring up, because there's these organizations that they talk about, like there's these organizations, that are embracing these collectives' actions against the forces working against them. So, it's like the Music Workers Alliance, formed to provide resources for out-of-work contractors. The UK's Broken Record Campaign, which is lobbying Parliament to legislatively restructure the industry. the National Independent Venue Association, NIVA, organized by performance hall owners across the U.S. to demand a share of the government stimulus, which they secured. And here's a couple others, like Catalytic Sound, a small streaming service run by a cooperative of 30 avant-garde musicians with the goal of paying its artists fairly. Then you have The Pact, which is a group of hit songwriters who publicly declared they will not grant songwriting credits to performers or anyone else who did not actually have a substantial writing role in a song's conception. Something that's been going on since the 50s. And now it's like, now it's that whole era of like, listen, we're fed up with this shit. We're done. It's like those people that say, well, this is how it's always been done. It's not like that anymore. And you talk about like, what you're doing is like going on like Twitch. It's like, right now we're seeing like a super rise in the creator economy. We're going to be hearing that all throughout 2021. It's going to be it's going to be the statement that we're going to be tired of hearing, because that creator economy has the web, the internet, technology has built the platforms that you can be on OnlyFans, you can be on Twitch, you can find your authenticity, and you can go there and take that stab and take that shot without having to put a lot of money in. It's like you have Twitch, you have TikTok, they're free. Instagram, it's free to put something up there. So if you find that your content is working over on TikTok, great. There are people making thousands of dollars. I'm not saying this is for everybody. It's a tough gig because you're putting it out there all the time. So you have to think of yourself in that business sense, but it's you. And then you're taking out a lot of the middlemen. And it's like, wow, why would I want to go get a record deal when I don't have to be forced to write an album every year. I can write a single every couple months and put that out and have it on my TikTok or have it on my Twitch. And I have fans that are subscribing to my channel. They'll tip me. They'll donate. Now, some people are going to say, well, that's not really a business model. Well, those people that are saying that that's not a business model by putting up YouTube shorts and stuff like that, that you're actually getting paid or people are tipping you. Those people that are saying that that's not a business model are the ones that are saying that's not, well, it's always been done like that. Look at this generation, this Gen Z, this creator economy, and it's mind-blowing what they are doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's like find out where your value is, or like I said, and then you said it. Find out where your value is. Find out where your value is and go there. But like, don't sit around and go like, man, it's not fair what it is. Nobody gives a fuck about what's fair. The world does not give a shit about what you think is fair. Okay, it only cares about how much money is in your bank account and can you pay your bills or not. If you can't, you could say, oh, it's not fair. It doesn't matter. They don't care. You got to go find where you can make money and go there. And maybe that's not for you. It's not for everybody. Like some people don't want to get slapped in the face over and over again. They're too sensitive for it. It's an art. Artists are very sensitive. Maybe the music business or any creator business is not for you, but maybe it is. Maybe if you can find that block that they're not going down and you can set up your shop there, you can make that money directly and cut out the middleman. So you got to kind of be like an inventor, not just a creator. You got to invent, and that's the time we live in. Somebody invented OnlyFans. That's large, man, because you can make your money at the Patreon and all that stuff,
Well, and OnlyFans is like spreading out. It's saying like, no, musicians come over to OnlyFans, and it's spreading out to like, it's widening its platform, so it's becoming more encompassing. So with that being said, I want to get Aisha back up here as well, because I know she had that smile on her face behind the scenes while you were going. Aisha.
All I can say, first of all, is that if saggyboobs.com is still available as a URL, someone should be getting that URL, because that's pretty great. Saggyboobs.com, that's what's up. Yeah, everything you guys are saying is so true. And I do think this creator economy is where things are going. And it's not an easy road. It's a really, really, really hard road, but it is a doable road and you can make it your way, and that's a pretty cool thing. So there it is. There it is.
Aisha, coming from like the musician side and also then like the film side that you also do, and Dave talked about, it's like bringing up like the different platforms. Like, well, you can be on YouTube or you can be on Vimeo. But if you're not on YouTube, you know certainly welcome to be on Vimeo, but you're not going to get that kind of audience or the potential audience. But here on the other side, it's kind of like, well, maybe is Vimeo a different platform for different types of content?
Sure. I mean, certainly like the short films have thrived on Vimeo because, they have the staff pick process and all of that. So I think there's a kind of, if you're someone who's doing well at film festivals and you're making very kind of content that fits into the box of what is curated, then yeah, Vimeo might be a place for you to shine. But I think for most music artists, really, you need to be on YouTube if you want to be in the game. And yeah, there are all these other apps, and you can be king of a smaller app or queen. But what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, what does that translate to? I think you kind of have to, you know, have a stake in the big game if you want to, one of the bigs. And they're all different. Twitch offers something different from TikTok, different from YouTube. So, figuring out which medium is the right one for your content is definitely the first step. But once you figure out the medium, pick the biggest, I think, outlet of that medium. That's probably the best way to go. And then say, and my job is an accountant.
Dave, like you do the YouTube reaction. Like you started, one of the things that Aisha was talking about, like, the live you want to be. And that was one of the things that you started doing, was it just like you started creating these reaction videos on YouTube? And was that just something out of like, hey, it's there? Like, how did you come out of that to like say, I just feel like doing it? Or is it something that you thought about and said, I'd really like to do reaction videos? Or, hey, something? Fuck it, I'm going to do reaction videos and then see where it takes me. And like, what are you looking at coming out of this as we start opening back up? Like, are you going to continue with that? Or is like, how is it incorporated into, and I guess we go back to this talking about like a branding of like who you are and what platforms you're on.
Yeah, I didn't even know what reaction videos were. I didn't even know that they existed until the pandemic. And then I sat down and I looked on YouTube and everybody was talking about, oh, like there's no more jobs, and everybody was freaking out. And I was freaking out too, man. But then I went on YouTube and I saw, I think his name is James Charles and the Dolan twins. And I'm looking at them and like, they're talking about, oh, we're mixed. We have no food. We can't go shopping. So they're making like almond milk with like, and it's like, I'm watching them do this and they're getting 1 million views, and 1 million views equals $3,000. And everybody's talking about, we can't make money. And I'm watching them make money on YouTube because everybody's home now watching YouTube. And like the light bulb went on in my head and I said, holy shit, like I got to do that. Like I'm in the room, I got a computer, I got a camera. Let me just use my personality that I've always had anyways. And let me do that. And my hidden agenda is about love and compassion. And I throw that into every reaction video, whether it's some crazy Karen or whatever it is. I always try to think about like where they're coming from and how can we, have some empathy towards it versus being like, oh, fuck this person, they suck. But that's how I got into reaction videos. And then that's how I became a TikToker, if you want to say that, because I was creating content and I wanted to put it on all platforms because I didn't know where it was going to pop. I didn't have a TikTok account. But I guess just necessity is the mother of all invention. And I've done that so many times. The number one thing that I think I love the most about being a person is having an imagination. And I use it all the time. I think all ideas come from, imagination. And sometimes we lose that when we get into like dollars and cents. How are we going to make this money? Like, and you lose like the creative aspect. And that's how I got into reaction videos from the pandemic, just being like, all right, well, I'm fucking sitting in this house, man. We make some money like everybody else.
So are you sure you're talking about like, hey, it's like, this is what I want to do. Pivot, change. I was so tired of the word pivot. Like, how do we get rid of that word?
Rotate. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's the thing to do, and see what's calling you, and then follow through on it. I think what Dave is talking about here, he has great follow through on his instincts, and that's really important too. You can't just decide it. You have to then do the things that follow that up. So yeah, you have to commit. Be willing to commit.
It's like The Secret, like put it out to the universe, but you actually have to do the work and commit to get there.
Uh-huh.
Gotta do the work.
And the
Man,
more you
you
do
gotta
that,
do.
it more comes back to you.
That is facts. That is facts.
All right. With that being said, we're going to wrap up. Any final thoughts, Dave? Parting words?
My final thoughts would be, yes, like Aisha said, you gotta follow through, but you also gotta be willing to be. You gotta be bold. Yeah, that's gonna be my final thought. Be bold. Be bold. Like jump off the fucking roof, whether anybody's jumping with you or not. Just do it anyways, because when you're bold and you do those things, the universe reciprocates that. But when you're scared, the universe is scared. When you're bold, the universe is bold. When you give, you receive. When you receive, you have to give. And it's a cycle. You got to jump into that cycle and love it and start swimming. Don't be afraid of the water. You got to get wet. You know what I mean?
Be bold. Hashtag. Love it. Got to get wet. Aisha, final thoughts.
Yeah, this is your life moving forward. Go out there and get it. Everything, that we've been saying here about being bold, about taking the dive and just embracing it. You have this chance. So we're lucky to have this chance. Some people didn't come out of this pandemic with this chance. So let's make it count.
Right on, right on. Thank you so much. And for everybody, thank you for tuning in. There's a lot going on in Music Industry City, so I encourage you to go check it out, musicindustrycity.com. We do these programming on daily programs on Clubhouse that you can join in the What's Good Morning Music World, What's on Your Mind. We also have playlists now. We have people shouting, like we get everybody involved in the community. We put together these playlists. Check it out on Clubhouse. Also, we do the Music News Power Hour every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. And we're doing stuff in VR, so make sure you register for free. You can become a resident at Music Industry City for free at musicindustrycity.com. And once again, I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Aisha and the Duke. Have a great day. Have a great week. See you next time.